Alright, chapter 21 is titled Verdict. Here we go.
Guilty.
Yes. We were in a brightly lit, unremarkable hallway. And even though it's unremarkable, Bella is going to describe it to us. The walls were off-white, floor has a carpet, there are fluorescent lights on the ceilings. The hall seemed very benign after the gloom of the ghoulish stone sewers. Edward didn't seem to agree with my assessment. Of what? How?
I thought he couldn't read her thoughts.
He can't.
Is she talking out loud?
I don't think so. And she walks into a room. These walls are off-white, and there is carpet on the floor, and fluorescent lights from the ceiling.
It's quite unremarkable.
And then everybody's like, yeah, I agree. Or, no, I disagree with your statement. The heavy door creaked shut behind us, and then there was a thud of a bolt sliding home.
Safe!
They go inside an elevator. Once inside the elevator, the three vampires that belonged to the Volturi relaxed. They threw back their cloaks, letting the hoods fall back on their shoulders. They step into a posh office reception area. This time the carpet is green. The flowers' smell reminded me of a funeral home. I guess Bella habitually smells funeral homes. They're like her car air freshener. In the middle of the room was a high, polished mahogany counter. I gawked in astonishment at the woman behind it. The girl behind the counter is really tall. She was pretty, but she was human. I couldn't comprehend what this human woman was doing here, totally at ease, surrounded by vampires. Like you, Bella. We meet up with Alec, who is Jane's twin, or brother. It says they could have been twins. All the vampires go into a stone room. The stone antechamber was not large. Again with the useless descriptions. Was small. It opened quickly into a brighter, cavernous room, perfectly round, like a huge castle turret. ... which was probably exactly what it was. She goes on to describe what a castle turret looks like. You guys can use your imaginations. The room was not empty. What? The room was full of people!
Bella was not a vampire.
Yeah.
Edward was not human.
One of the main vampires, the Volturi, glides towards them. I couldn't decide if his face was beautiful or not. I suppose the features were perfect. His skin was translucently white and looked just as delicate. I felt a strange, horrifying urge to touch his cheek. Arrow is the Volturi guy name. And he says that he loves a happy ending because they're so rare.
This guy needs to watch some Disney movies.
So, like Edward and Alice, Arrow has a vampire superpower. He needs physical contact to hear your thoughts. But he, instead of Edward, who just reads what thought you have right now, Arrow hears every thought your mind has ever had.
So he just whoop, downloading.
The other two of the Volturi trio come. Their names are Marcus and Caius. Arrow is very excited that Bella and Alice came. Isn't that wonderful? They have bodyguards. Marcus and Caius and Arrow do. The idea of any vampire needing a guard was faintly ridiculous to me. Faintly ridiculous to me. Marcus sees relationships. He's surprised by the intensity of ours.
I can see relationships too.
Yeah.
Like walking down the street holding hands. Hey, look, there's a relationship.
And Marcus touches Arrow's hand so that Arrow can then see the relationship as Marcus has seen it. And Arrow doesn't understand how Edward can stand close to Bella because he wants her blood so badly. How can you stand so close to her like that? It's not without effort, Edward answered. But still, la tua cantante. What a waste. Edward chuckled once without humor. Ha!
Huh.
Arrow laughed. If I hadn't smelt her through your memories... Which is weird because He can smell her. She's standing right there. I wouldn't have believed the call of anyone's blood could be so strong. To injure yourself against such a siren call, not just once, but again and again. If I had not felt it myself, I would not have believed. Just remembering how she appeals to you, it makes me thirsty.
A chocolate fountain, but
Fondue fountain of Bella's blood. Arrow reassures him that he doesn't mean her any harm, but he's so curious. Bella, Arrow exclaimed, I'm fascinated that you are the one exception to Edward's impressive talent. So very interesting. And I was wondering, since our talents are similar in many ways, if you would be so kind as to allow me to try to see if you are an exception for me as well. He can't read her thoughts at all. So Bella is not only immune to Edward, but also to Arrow. I wonder if she is immune to our other talents. Jane, dear? No! Edward snarled the word. No! I could barely hear Arrow over Edward's furious growls. Edward was on the ground. No one had touched him, but he was on the stone floor, writhing in obvious agony while I stared in horror. Jane was smiling only at him. Jane stares at you and makes you feel pain. Jane, Arrow recalled her in a tranquil voice. She looked up quickly. As soon as Jane looked away, Edward was totally fine. Jane turned her smile in my direction. At first, I thought the horror was for what he had just suffered. But then he looked quickly at Jane, and back to me, and his face relaxed.
And now back to Jane. And now back to me.
I looked at Jane too, and she no longer smiled. She glared at me. Her jaw clenched with the intensity of her focus. Nothing happened.
How very convenient.
Jane hissed in frustration. Ha ha ha! Arrow started to laugh. This is wonderful. She confounds us all. Alice, Arrow asked, would you be interested in joining us? No, thank you, Alice said. And you, Bella? Joining them for what? Oh!
A tea party.
Arrow wants them to join, like, the Volturi group of people who go after people when they do things wrong. So, he asked Bella to join the group. No, thank you, Bella says. Arrow sighed. That's unfortunate. Such a waste. Edward hissed. Join or die, is it? Then Caius decides they need to kill Bella because she knows too much. Do you intend to give her immortality? And Edward says, if I do? Arrow says, well, then you can just go home right now and we can all just be friends. Was it really such a loathsome idea? Would he rather die than change me? I felt like I'd been kicked in the stomach. So maybe Jane's powers do work. Alice stepped away from us, forward towards Arrow. Her hand was raised like his. She didn't say anything. And then Arrow touches her hand. Ha ha ha! He laughed. That was fascinating. To see the things you've seen, especially the ones that haven't happened yet. But that will. Yes, yes. Well, certainly there's no problem. So apparently, Alice saw that Bella was going to be a vampire and just showed Arrow so that he knows Edward isn't lying but wanting to change her. And Arrow says, oh yes, you're free to go, but please visit again. This has been absolutely enthralling.
They're gonna let her go that easy?
They are gonna let her go that easy.
Why, Smire? Why? Is that the climax of this book?
What? As they're leaving, a group of tourists walk by and enter the room full of vampires. We couldn't get through the door before the screaming started. The tourists are lunch. That's the end of the chapter.
That was so sad.
I know. Here's the quickest recap ever. Bella, Edward, Alice, and some of the Volturi minions go and meet the three Volturi leaders, Arrow, Marcus, and Caius. They say, oh, we want Bella to be in our group, and you, Edward, and you, Alice, because they all have superpowers. And Edward and Alice say no. And they want to kill Bella because she knows too much. But Alice promises that she'll be a vampire someday, so they let them go. And then the Volturi snack on tourists. We'll hopefully get this to you soon. Bye.